Cool. Well, thank you for the lovely welcome. I'm joined tonight. We've got Marvin and also Cass as well has been helping out, and we just seem to have been going from project to project, and it's been fascinating learning about some of these different projects, and really looking forward to sharing some of that with you tonight. Now, these two projects are completely different to one another, so I want to know from you guys. At the top right in Discord, there's a chat button. Hop in there and tell me which one you're most looking forward to. Let me know what you think, because these two projects cannot be further apart, I don't think. Happy saying both?
Unico was part of the Mega AMA, not for the analysis on chain, just so you know, Brisbane.
Yeah, I think we will be covering that in an upcoming session in our Discord, actually, because I know our members have requested that as well. Hoping for bullish on Kadena hashing, but expecting more drama on daylight, so it's a coin flip. Well, the trading charts have started, so we shall see. All right. Well, how about we start with Kadena hashing? Let's start with Kadena hashing. Let's work through that. First thing to uncover about this is the blockchain itself, Kadena. Anyone using Kadena? Anyone heard of Kadena? Do you know what it is? Again, let me know in chat. You can hop there in the top right, and because I think it's important to understand from a basic sort of level before we dive into this particular project.
My interpretation is Kadena seems on the outside anyway like a pretty decent project and token. I know it's kind of down at the moment, but I think long term, I think it's got promise. I know James Pelton's got a couple of KDA miners, so maybe even more now. But I know when I was following him, kind of a while back, he'd been mining Kadena for some time. But in terms of this specific project, I don't know too much more than that really.
Oh, okay, right. So there's a number of people in the chat saying they don't really know. So let me just cover some basics on Kadena. I also have a couple of Kadena miners. It's a proof of work blockchain, okay? But with blockchains, what we've got is this blockchain trilemma, first coined by, pardon the pun, by Vitalik Buterin, which says that it's really difficult if you are secure and fast to be decentralized, and that way you can think of like a Sol, like a Solana blockchain. It's really fast, it's secure, but it's not really that decentralized. Or if you look at Bitcoin, what you've got is it's really secure and it's really decentralized, and it's not necessarily that fast. In fact, it's really slow. So you had this blockchain trilemma where it's almost like a triangle. Okay, you got those 3 points: scalability, speed, and decentralization. They're the 3 points of the blockchain trilemma. And what Kadena blockchain does is it has like a multi-chain arrangement, but it's all proof of work. Now these multi-chains work together to validate the transactions, much like any other blockchain. But they can have, they can have like an infinite sort of number of chains. And they claim to be the only blockchain that's out there that can handle the transaction pressures from the likes of the New York Stock Exchange trading and things like that. So the background behind Kadena blockchain is really interesting. I recommend you guys go and check this out. This is not financial advice, but for me right now it's, I don't know, 80 something cents. All-time highs of around $25. Do the maths. I think the problem is there's other technologies coming out really fast, almost consistently, and it's a race of, who can solve this blockchain trilemma and scale out to businesses, as who can do that the fastest. Now, with that in mind, Kadena, the blockchain itself, was created by JP Morgan individuals who teamed up within JP Morgan to create their first blockchain, their internal blockchain. They then left the organization to create Kadena, and Kadena is very much focused on business and finance. Okay, so it's a pretty
Rodri,
it has a lot of potential, I would say.
Carvajal, fermato, e
Sorry, we've got-
Cazzuola rimessa laterale per la Germania.
Let's if we can go on mute, that would be great.
Guys, just a quick one. If you're not, if you don't intend to speak, just go on mute, please.
Cool. So yeah, Kadena, I think it's a solid blockchain. There's not much on it right now. It's about 3 years old. There's not much on it in terms of projects and protocols and things like that. But there is becoming more and more. They just brought out the NFT marketplace called Marmalade, I believe it is. They've got CADEX, which is like like a DEX that you can find on there. But there's not really that much volume passing over Kadena. So yeah, I've got a couple of miners. For me, it's one that I'm tolerant with the risks on. Right, it could, like anything, it could fail. Right, it might not make it to that point that we think it's going to make it. Right, you have to bear that in mind. But yeah, I've got a couple of miners. I'm mining a couple of KDA each day. Nothing spectacular. And so with that, with the proof of work blockchain that you've got, clearly you do need the mining. And so what Kadena hashing is essentially is an organization out of America. They're based just outside of Dallas, Texas, and they're basically going to be a mining farm. Okay, so that's the nuts and bolts of it. Now, interestingly, let me pull up my screen. Now, when I'm researching a project, I'm going to have to show you this. I thought this was hilarious. Right, I'm sharing my screen. So on Discord, if you just click on my screen, you should be able to see what I can see. Okay, so that's it, right? We operate the mining facility, you get the rewards. That's this project in a nutshell. We're seeing a few of these coming about, these NFT sort of enabled mining reward type projects, okay? We've got Valleybots, which is similar but different. They are using trading bots with the income that comes from the NFTs to increase the revenue generated instead of waiting for validators or whatever to compound. They're using trading to be able to compound a little bit faster. But they're using validators on a proof of stake blockchain. I believe, was it Hydro Whales? Yeah, Hydro Whales Mining Club. They're also Bitcoin mining. Similar sort of concept. In fact, they have the same legal company that did their legal audit, which is something interesting. We'll cover that as part of this session. Now, the first thing that I typically do when I look at a project is I'm checking out the team, because for me the team is the most important thing. And I don't really mind what people say. Like, we call these DeFi projects, or Daylight, right? We call it a DeFi project. It's not really decentralized at all. In fact, it's very much centralized. And that means that the team has a huge amount of control over the project. Okay, and so you have to do some form of due diligence to ensure that you can place enough trust in them to spend your money with them, right? So the first thing I did is went to Google the team. Now, what we've got is let me see if I can pull it up. Yeah, it's just here. There was an announcement right here. Let me make this a bit bigger. There was an announcement saying, "Hey, my name is Michael Deese, and let's go on mute." 1 second. Sorry, if you're not on mute, would you mind going on mute, please? Thank you.
Yeah, I think it's let me just see if I can mute him.
No problem. So the first thing I did when I went into the Discord is I checked the announcements, right? And I've seen this, and I've circled it just so you can see it really easily. My name is Michael Deese. In late 2013, I launched a company called My Advertising Pays. It was a great success, blah, blah, blah. VX Gateway announced that they was liquidating, and that locked them from their account. And in the process, VX Gateway stole 60 million. So I'm like, oh my God, what's happening here? So the next thing I do is go into Google, right? And you guys, I know a couple of you are already in the project, so you've probably done all this already. But I start Googling Michael Dees. Who is Michael Dees? The first thing that comes up, dirty scam. And I'm thinking, oh my, right, what's happening here? Now, what Michael Dees does is essentially go into detail in that announcement about what's actually happened about this particular project. Now, what I would say about this, guys, sorry, I'm getting some background noise. Don't know if anyone else can hear that. Let's stop now. Okay. Yeah, so obviously red flags go up at this point from my perspective, because it's not very often that you come across a project which is, has known art. It has the project, or the founders of the project have articles online about them, about some form of scam. Okay, so it's not very often that happens. I have seen it before. I won't name the projects because I don't think it's my place to right now. Now, what I'd say about this, guys, is if you're going to invest in this project, you probably need to understand what's going to happen, or what's happened with this previous organization. And when you go into the Discord announcement that Michael puts out, he explains that it wasn't actually his fault. And, although he was the scapegoat, the actual underlying issue was with VX Gateway, which it was nothing to do with him. Now, I can't come on here and tell any of you what happened, okay, in great detail. I haven't gone into the detail myself. However, there's a couple of news articles here, okay, fears over the company that promises, untold riches, that sort of thing. Here's the facts, okay. Apex, let me send this to you, this link. This is called Court Listener, okay, and what you've got here is all of the different court dates and documentations and things like that. Okay, it's got a full list of everything that happened in this case. Okay, what I look at is this: final order, case terminated. Now, again, I've not read in great detail the items above, okay, because it's just far too much time, to be honest. But you guys, if you're thinking about getting in into this project, I really recommend you go and check out this website. So Apex, if you don't mind, I'd love to just pass you this link to share. Where is it? There you go. Dropped it in chat. So, yeah, feel free to share that into chat here. But yeah, do your due diligence. Do your due diligence here, guys. And the reason why I'm saying that is because we was talking about DeFi and CeFi, or the centralized risk, and this project thoroughly sits in that bucket, right? So if you're going to invest your money into this project, you are going to have to put some form of trust, a level of trust, into the project team. Okay, and this, what I can see on my screen now, is that the courts have dismissed it, but I haven't read the detail. So to summarize all of this, right, there's some materials online which indicate one thing. There's the public court information that tell you another thing, okay? Your job is to read, I would say, both sides of this and make up your own decision, okay? Just be aware of that. Any questions so far? Yeah, there's a link. So feel free, go and read it and make your own choice. Right, so what is the project? So as like Bitcoin, you've got different types of miners, right? You've got small ones, you've got big ones. Now, the problem is for, I would say the majority of people, is probably that upfront cost. Some of these miners are, $26,000. Mine weren't. I've got small babies that sat on my desk. But you can pick them up for around I want to say $1,300. These are the KD Box Pro miners. But even then, you know, you've got to have that upfront capital to be able to purchase one of them. And then on top of that, not only have you, you've got to set it up, so you do need to have some form of technical background to be able to set them up, because it's not too difficult, but at the same time, you kind of need to know what to do, I guess. Now, on top of that, you've got the electricity costs. Now, if you're in the UK like me, the electricity costs right now are ridiculous, okay? And the coin value of KDA is sat at around, I think it was like 80 something cents. It's only profitable for me to go and mine if it's above sort of $2, okay? So right now they're switched off. So that's the problem with mining. You've got the upfront cost, you've got the cost of electricity, and then, you know, the fluctuating price of the coin, the underlying coin, KDA in this case. So what this organization looks to do is say, right, you give us the capital, okay, we'll give you an NFT, and in return, that NFT is going to give you perpetual rewards. Now, look at those figures there on screen. Let me just zoom in a little bit here. So on screen, you can see ROI for year one is about 91%. So just over a year to get your return back. Year two is, KH Pro is just under a year. KH Max is again a little bit less in terms of getting your return of investment. Now, on top of that, you've got the percentages underneath that you're likely to yield. Okay, so the whole protocol here is really looking to simplify all of that, to take away the upfront costs of buying a miner. Okay, it's to take away the running costs of the electricity, and to give you as a NFT holder a percentage of the profits that come back. So not the total income, it's the profits that come back, which makes sense because you've got to cover your business bills, right? And these guys, they're going to be using a lot of electricity. So, by the way, if you guys have got any questions, feel free to put them into chat. I'll see them. And, you know, we can go through, we can touch on some of the questions as we go through. That's a big consideration, Apex, actually. Yeah, $4 here. So it's much less than that now. The thing is, right, and we're in the depths of a bear market. If the market turns, which I'm not sure it will in the near-term future because of the global economic situation, but if it does, this coin could, you know, go up in pretty significantly in terms of cost, right? And these ROIs become suddenly much less. So it swings and roundabouts, okay? And these are all the things you need to take into consideration before you jump into a project like this, okay? It's not as simple as just jumping in and saying, right, I'm going to get 11% ROI per year. Well, you might, but that coin value might drop. It might increase, so you might even get more than that. So, yeah, it does depend for sure. Okay, so let's move on. So, we've got the, in terms of the owners, we've got Michael Deese. We also have Ross Booth. Okay, now I've found out his real name is Ross Boothroyd. Okay, but he's since deleted his LinkedIn account, which is a little bit different. But anyway, this was his. Just going to pull it up now. Page doesn't exist, and we do have him on Twitter, but you know, Twitter's okay. The problem is with Twitter, it doesn't necessarily have like work history and things like that. So I always like to check LinkedIn where possible. Let's just quickly check his Twitter. There you go. So this is Ross Boothroyd. He's I think it was a marketing guy. The developer, and the accountant are pretty anonymous. I couldn't find too much detail about this. Okay, about those two. But you know, according to the team, Robert, who is the developer, has about 30 years of programming experience. Right, multiple different coding languages. So he could be pretty proficient and pretty okay with coding. Again, the problem is with Pact. Pact is the coding language on top of Kadena. So Kadena is not an Ethereum virtual machine compatible blockchain. It has its own programming language called Pact, which supposedly is easier. And actually it does a little bit of self-auditing. So it should be a little bit easier. But openly, you know, discussed by the team, Robert doesn't necessarily have the upfront skills for Pact, the language, and he is indeed doing some reverse engineering. That's okay. That's not necessarily a problem, you know, so long as it's a watertight ship, because the last thing you want is an exploit or something like that, right? So the good news is the likes of Certic and those big auditors, they can go and do an audit on Pact language, okay? But just one interesting fact before we move on from Pact is in Solidity, which is the Ethereum code, you had things like under and overflow attacks, okay, which could cause a huge amount of problems. In the Pact language, they've built the language in such a way that it's impossible to build one of those in. So the Kadena sort of the ecosystem's built around trying to make it simple and also centric towards businesses as well. Really interesting. All right, so in terms of legal structure, these guys are excuse me, these guys are incorporated out of IANAPA. So I can show you the details here. Okay, Kadena Hashing, they're out of Cyprus, IANAPA. Feel free to go and Google some of these. This is the work that we've done. They also have a legal audit, right? Now, I was interested when I checked out this legal audit because this is, don't get this confused. This is not an audit of the protocol, okay, of the code and the technical details of the project. This is this audit basically says that the people are, doing this and this with the money that's raised. They're buying these things, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so it's more of a, is the company doing as it said it would do? Okay, now these guys, AVLLC, also did the Hydro Wells Mining Club contract, the company audit as well. And I know from my past research that that company is a legitimate company, so I can pull this up as well. So this is now the corporation of AVLLC who did the audit of Kadena Hashing. Okay, so we followed the trail all the way back. We can see that Kadena Hashing is a legal entity. We can see that they've been audited, and we can see that the auditor is a legal entity as well. So all things pointing towards this being a legitimate organization right now. Now, in terms of how this project was funded, well, it's all been through NFT sales, right? And they've done pretty well. I'm going to say in this bear market, they've been going for a while, but in this bear market, they've raised close to $1 million, $952,275. Okay, and the majority of that, or pretty much all of it, is going towards these Kadena miners, which now that will be churning out some serious KDA, potentially. The one thing I'd say on top of that is if they've got so much funds up front from the the crowdfunding, what this does is it means that they can focus on buying the energy efficient models, which means that they've got less running cost per month and therefore more profit, which, that's an ideal scenario to be in. On top of that, they have been able to secure I think it was a 60 cent per kilowatt hour fixed price for electricity in the state of Texas for 5 years. Now that is pretty good as well. So from an efficiency perspective, these guys, excuse me, these guys should be in a great position. If all of their purchases come through and, they've got their farm set up, things like that. The caveat is right now, these guys don't necessarily have the mining farm ready to go. Okay, so I think they said that's a minimum of like 6 months or something like that before that gets ready to rock and roll and start mining crypto. So that's a downside, but what else can you expect, right? A brand new organization, they've just raised their capital, just started to buy the miners. We can see from photos in their Discord that they've started to build the foundations, the land and things like that. Things are moving. But the caveat to all that is, remember, you've got to have complete trust in the team to deliver on this, because this is no mean feat, right? This is a pretty complex operation here in terms of getting everything set up and built and things like that. And with that first sort of scam notion that we've seen early on, that's kind of been sort of counteracted by some of the details in the court hearings and the official audits that we've seen. You've got to balance your assessment on whether you think this is the right thing for you or not. Okay, let's just quickly check if you guys got any questions. Can't see any questions there. Anything?
I think it's just more conversations between some of the guys, but nothing specifically to you, matey. So feel free to carry on.
Yeah. Okay. No problem. Cool. So let's continue. So the ecosystem is ROI for the NFT tiers, right? They have locked in the electricity price. I see some slight disagreement, or not disagreement, but I see some slight different numbers there in the chat. Feel free to go and double check these. We could be wrong. Things could have been updated, but yeah, feel free to go and check that. Now, yeah, we've covered all that. They've got the 3 tiers. Okay, they've got a $160 NFT. They also have, if I just go back to their website, they also have, I think it was a 500 and also 500 and 1,000. So I was having a conversation about this with somebody in my Discord earlier this week, I think it was, and they was questioning, well, what benefit would I get by going into a project like this? And the benefits you'll get is all of that we've described, right? If you want to go down the mining route and you trust the company, well, this just takes all the hassle out of it. Okay, the caveat to that is you've got to trust them. And I came up with this, sort of commentary around my thoughts on if I was to get into something like this. Well, if I'm sorry, could somebody go on mute, please? I think I can hear the toilet flushing. Cool. I think we're there. Yeah, so where did I get to? The cost, right. So what you're going to get in, after a couple of years in terms of ROI, well, it kind of, for me, there's a balance between, would you rather go down this particular route, which in some cases might well be, more profitable? The alternative is something else. The alternative might just be to buy some L1 coins like AVAX or something like that, and just go and stake them on a validator and get you 15% per year off that. Now, these guys might be able to churn more, especially if the price goes up. But if the price of this goes up, you can pretty much guarantee that the price of AVAX is going to go up as well. So that's another consideration is, well, what's the ROI here versus what other systems is out there as well, or other, techniques of gaining yield. Okay. So that's one thought I had, and I'd love to, hear anyone's thoughts about that as well in chat. We'll come back to that in a second. Now, I would say because this project is so new in terms of they haven't got the farm set up, they actually don't have smart contracts set up right now, other than one smart contract on the Kadena network, which basically ties the NFT to your wallet address, right? Because of that, and because of the requirement of having to manually transfer funds from USDC, take that off chain, go and buy what it is you're going to go buy. If you're going to get rewards, as it stands right now, there's no contracts there so that you can automatically distribute the rewards. Because there's nothing there yet in terms of an automation point of view, right now in our scoring system, these guys have scored, I think it was around the 50% mark, which feels quite underwhelming. But at the same time, based on what we're saying around, the centralization here and the, on top of that, the manual transactions that have to take place and the manual transfers, well, I think that actually feels about right with the level of risk that's here in the space. Okay, and I think once we're further down the line, and these guys have implemented the smart contracts and had the right audits, and everything's pretty much automated with the exception of the operation of these mining farms, I think it would then score much higher. But right now, as it stands today, I think it's wise to follow the process, use our objective sort of scoring system, and by doing that, it's got us out to a sort of a 50% mark. Now, there's no it's things like as well, could these guys halt the project, or the question is, could they halt trading? Well, in this case, it's slightly different. We don't need that right now because we're not trading, but the project could halt for any particular reason, right? And that's the same with any business that's out there. So, yep, there's risks there as well. I have checked the team's wallets that's been involved in the project so far, and I can't find anything that would, any red flags that would concern me. I'm looking for like Tornado Cash and things like that. I can't find any of that. In fact, what I can see is, I think it was Kraken and Coinbase that's being used as a central as a central exchange being used to fund the wallet that fed the fund collection wallet, let's say. So I was quite happy from that perspective as well. Yeah, it's scored bad on the audits because they don't have them. It's not possible to have them right now, to be fair to them. So there's that. What else have we got? Public-facing devs? No, not really. I don't think it doesn't look like Robert's going to come out of anonymity either. Normally find that really hard to say, but it seems like I cracked it on that go. One of the benefits of a project like this, if it all goes through and the project is, as successful as it could be, then this project does not rely on Ponzinomics, right? Because they've done the crowdfunding. It's kind of like you guys are the investors, right? They've taken that investor money, they've invested it in hardware, and they're able to get a return. And that's perpetual. So it will continue until the day that Kadena dies. So this is not a Ponzi at all, in any stretch of the imagination. In terms of, if we look at their socials, they are pretty, tight when it comes to followers and things. There's no fake followers. In fact, they've only got, 2.7% fake followers, 97.3% real followers and things like that, which was, great to see. And they are, they're somewhat regular when it comes to communication as well. So I thought that was good. So where does that leave me in terms of a conclusion? I think, well, it seems as though these guys as a team, bearing in mind what we said earlier, have somewhat more business financial business and financial sort of acumen compared to some of the other projects that I've seen. Is it a copy and paste? Not really. You know, I've not seen anyone else doing it with Kadena. And so, you know, I guess my conclusion is essentially, if you're okay with the risk and you trust the team, then you might choose to do this, right? Because it just removes all of that complexity. And believe me, mining can be expensive as well in terms of the electricity costs, the upfront costs. So you're taking all that away from it. Or is it going to be more beneficial to just go and do some yield farming or validating, you know, staking on a validator or something like that? So that's where we'd got to in terms of the analysis. Appreciate, you know, we're sort of 40 minutes the way in and I've just mumbled through that. But, you know, if you guys have got any particular questions that you'd like to know about, then, you know, just let me know. I see that one there, Apex, about questions from Lord Show Garath. I hope I pronounced that right. So, as with anything in my analysis, right, it's just that. It's a red flag. And when I say a red flag, that just means there needs to be more questions asked. Okay? So it's not to say that that's like a, you know, an instant fail. We know that some of the benefits of Tornado Cash are privacy. Okay? I would say, though, on legitimate projects, we're seeing more and more sort of LLCs and organizations and things like that. In that context, I would not expect to see Tornado Cash because they're an organization and they'll have tax duties. And so if an organization is starting to use Tornado Cash, that might mean that they're trying to hide, you know, from authorities, yeah, you know, in terms of tax payments and things like that. That's one thing, right? Make of that what you will, right? That's your decision whether you think that's valid or not. The other side of the coin is, well, are they doing it for complete privacy and to hide taxes, or are they potentially going to be malicious, right? And the truth is, you might never know until the rug is pulled, so to speak. And so that's what I mean. It's not and it should not be a definitive, ooh, you don't get into this project, they're using Tornado Cash. Not at all. You should go and ask questions, and then you should look at the project in the wider context and then see if Tornado Cash seems appropriate for the setting, for the project overall, and you know, make your own mind up if you're concerned by that or not. Okay? That's my thoughts, anyway. Sub-Zero, 10% profit goes to the salary. Do you mean the team there? Because tokenomics say 15. Well, Cass, interestingly, you know, these guys, they are actually linked with the scam, but they are not using Tornado Cash, right? So for me, that kind of paints an okay picture. Actually, they're not trying to hide who they are. He's come out and he said who he is. And why would you fake that? Why would you say, actually, I've been accused of scamming in the past if it weren't true? So, you know, you got to take it for what it is and look at the whole context of a particular project. Oh, sorry, Sub-Zero. Missed that one. Cool. Any other questions about Kadena hashing? Here's the thing. Like, if you're looking to get into this project, let us know in chat. And let us know, you know, what is it you're looking forward to? What is it about the project that drew you to the project? Do you have any concerns? Let us know. Yeah, just going back to, who's that? Sorry, is it Inno? Private Joker. Let's take a look at some of the tokenomics, actually. I think it was in the white paper, because it does show you how the profit's going to be shared. No, you might be talking about a different project here, but it does display it in here somewhere. KDA rewards after 6 months. So 10% of profits is going to be going to strategic partnerships. 55% is going to the rewards pool, which is to pay all of the NFTs. 15% is going to the treasury, which pays the team. So 15% in our scores actually is quite high. we're looking for around 10% or less. But anyway, it is what it is. Each project to their own. 5% to marketing, 15% to the mining farm for operational costs. So this is sort of the tokenomics. Cool. Happy with that? We can move on to daylight in just a second. I just want to check everyone's happy with that and got no more questions. Yeah, I probably agree they're happy. But again, it's their project. It really is their project. It's their choice. It does seem high. I mean, if you look at that, 25% of the rewards is going out to the team or strategic partnerships, right? So, yeah, can't beat a bit of LC, liquid capital. Cool. Right. If there's no more questions, let's move on to daylight.